Welcome to the Freedom Hustles podcast, where host John and Andy take you on a journey of liberation away from the 9-to-5 grind. Explore side hustles, remote work, and the skills to help you unlock true freedom. Brought to you by freedomskillsacademy.com, this podcast is your gateway to independence and financial empowerment.
Okay, so here we are then, episode 56. And tonight we're talking it's a little bit different actually, but something that we think does hold some value and is an important discussion. And that is going to be, we're talking a little bit about, well, the concept is, should you rent an office for the day in order to get more stuff done? Okay, so it's kind of like about productivity, going to be talking about distractions and all that sort of thing. And that we were just talking about it the other week, and we sort of come up with the idea about it. And I know, you've sort of written about it since then. So what's the kind of idea behind tonight's discussion?
Right. Well, I first came across this a few years ago. I was reading an article and I thought, that makes a lot of sense. And it was about product creation. So you've got to think of it from this sort of from this perspective that you create a digital product, which is a course or an ebook that can be sold for many years. That can generate a lot of money. And as you know, it's often best to get a product to market fast. And we also know that people who start doing products, if they get distracted too much, or if they do not carry on with it or take a break from it, the chances are they never go back to it. So they're left with a product half finished on their drive, which hasn't earned them any money. And so this concept was for product creators who are working from home, because as you will know full well that when you're working from home, it's a dream, it's a great idea to be able to work from the comfort of your own home, near the kettle and near family and everything. But it can also be incredibly distracting. And so the whole concept was instead of hiring an office for a 6-month contract or a year contract where you have to turn up and pay for months on end, is that when it comes down to something that you need to really get done, like writing an ebook, creating a course, creating a series of podcasts, you basically go and they mentioned hiring a hotel. So it was either get yourself a hotel, an Airbnb for a night or something, or go and hire an office for a day or two. So as most things, you would need a plan. So, you make sure you've got a plan, you know what you're doing. So when you turn up there, soon as you basically open up your laptop, you're just going to work without distraction. And I would just like to quickly say, and this always makes me chuckle, is that if you do decide to hire a hotel for the day, make sure that you tell your partner that you're going, because if you find your receipt in your pockets a fortnight later, you've got some explaining to do.
There's a few
questions. Yeah. But the whole purpose of this is like, as you know, when you're working from home, sometimes you can be in your office. People, because you're working from home, they know that you're in home, so they come into the office to talk to you because you're there. Even though you're working, they know you're working, but sometimes they come in, and if you've got younger children as well, they sometimes don't understand that daddy's working or whatever, or someone comes in saying, what do you want for your dinner? And before you know it, 10 minutes have passed, 20 minutes have passed. Even people just walking past the door can, if you look at some of our old podcasts, you might notice I'll be talking like this, looking, and then my eyes will be like fixed to the left or right because I can hear something beyond the door and I don't know what's going to happen. And those things can be quite distracting. So if you take yourself out of that situation and put yourself in an environment where you know you're going to be completely left alone, then you can knock out that product, get that ebook finished, get that funnel built, get a series of 5 or 10 podcasts in the bank, get all this stuff done and ready so that you can do those things at home, like publishing them, getting them onto the website, those things that doesn't matter if you get too distracted because you're not recording something. And so you get your product finished and then you get it to market quicker. And that way you actually make money quicker, or you've got something to work with quicker.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Do you remember the podcast episode ages ago we done? I think we didn't obviously put it in, but we kept it as a blooper reel where my kids walked in the background and started dancing around thinking we were just having a sort of normal chat.
I do remember, it was funny.
And
Yeah,
you know,
you had to work hard at trying to edit it out. I think you had to
yeah,
pause the video, didn't you, or something?
that's what I mean. But yeah, that's all sort of part of the fun. But I mean, at the same note, like you say, if you're trying to concentrate, I mean, could you imagine like, and one of the things like trading, for example, that requires a hell of a lot of
Yes.
concentration, and you can't have distractions. You really, really need to sort of focus on what you're doing, um, and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I agree. That when I get a full day at it uninterrupted, when I get a full day uninterrupted, and that's the key part. It's amazing the amount that you can get done. Like a real proper day,
Yeah.
uninterrupted, no distractions whatsoever. Put in like a proper sort of what you would traditionally call like a shift. Like a proper 7-8 hour day. Um,
Mm.
really kind of focused. And I guess in another kind of way, the way you're looking at it, if you're renting an office for the day, um, you're paying for that, so you're going to make sure you're going to get the most productivity you can out of it, right? So,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? You're gonna when you're at home, like you say, it's easy to just, I'll just flip out now, put the kettle on, and while you're out there, there'll be a knock at the door, and then the cat comes in, and do you know what I mean? And before you know
Oh,
it, there's like 20
I've had the
minutes
cat
past,
today. Yeah.
you know, and then why you sort of go upstairs. Oh, while I'm up there, I'll just put that away, or I'll just do this, that, and the other. So, like you say, it's easy to get disrupted. It's easy to get distracted. Do that. It's an interesting concept because you get these things like hot desking now, isn't there? You can rent
Yep.
these places where it's literally just like a desk. There might be other people in there, but the idea being that you've got this space of your own, for the day. You can hook into the Wi-Fi, and I'd imagine some of them have got like facilities and this, that, and the other. Like tea and coffee and whatever you need. But and that's pretty much it. I mean, one of the things I like to do, while we're kind of on the subject of sort of productivity, and I've mentioned this a load of times, and I don't use this all the time, I would admit. But I've started doing this a lot more now. I've got these like timers. And
Mhm.
this, for those people that are listening, I'm holding up it's basically just like a little timer thing. I bought it off Amazon. Um, you can set it to whatever you want. It's um, it's part of a technique called, I think it's the Porodomo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's either
Yes.
the
I think that's
Porodomo
Italian.
or the Pomodoro, one way of
Yeah.
saying it. Which is the Italian tomato timer. And the idea behind that is you kind of work in these chunks. Now, I don't do this all the time, but I do it if I've got something really, really specific that I want to focus on. And if in my head I sort of think, that's probably 3 hours work, then I do use it, and I find it really helps because what you do is when you put the timer on, that's it. You just focus on that specific task that you're doing. Let's say you're building a website or something like that. So during that 60 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever, you're not going to go and open emails. You're not going to go on social media and do a load of posts on something else. You're not going to, I don't know, record a TikTok video. You're not going to, go and price up a job for a client. And you're not going to do anything else other than this one specific task that you had set. And sometimes you can break it down even
Mm.
further. So it won't be something as vague as like build a website. It might be design the logo, yeah, or
Yeah.
build the hero section of the homepage. And then you won't move on to another task until you've just done that. And I really like to use these timers. And the idea that being that once you've hit like 40 minutes or however long you set it to, then you can have a little 2 minute, or you just get up, walk around, go and stretch your legs or whatever, have a quick drink, and then you come back down and then you do it again. And and the idea, the sort of Italian method is you kind of build up these chunks. And let's say you've done like 5 chunks, then you would have your more sort of longer reward, like go and have a cup of tea and a sandwich or something like that. And
Mm.
they do it a different way. I've read some other studies on it where you can sort of measure how many you do in a day and things like this. Like there are people that do that. Like they'll say, "Oh, I've done, 20 Porodomos today, or 15 chucks."
Really?
Yeah, and then they get like that, and that's their sort of level.
Mm.
And they sort of set the standard. So then they go, "Well, yesterday I done 20. Let's see if I can do 21 today." Do you know what I mean? And it gets a bit. I'm not like that, but it's just another interesting way of working, and I definitely think it helps with focused stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there was another way. I remember, I think it used to be on the BBC. There was a documentary. It was like "Think Yourself Rich: The Mind of a Millionaire." There was a book associated to it, and I think his name was Simon Woodrow, or something. I believe he's the guy who brought Yo Sushi to the UK. And I
Okay.
remember he always used to reward himself for doing specific tasks. So, for example, if he needed to ring 20 people, because most people are, I've got to ring 20 people on the end of the day, whatever. He would ring the 20 people, and then he would probably go and spend £10 on himself on a treat or something.
Yeah.
So he was always rewarding himself with some measure of sort of success, something that he wanted, something he needed, but he would get it for doing the work he didn't like.
Yeah.
I always found that one quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the I don't know how to pronounce it myself. The Pomodo.
I'm
The
just going to
I'll
check
get
it.
it
I'm,
written
I'm
in front of
pretty
me next
certain
time to
it.
try and talk about it. But I mean, yeah, it's like you say, that's how do you do that when you've got the family around though? What do you do with that? Is that do you still
Po,
have the family about?
Pomodoro. Yeah, Pomodoro.
Mm.
Pomodoro's focus. Yeah, I mean it's tricky. I mean, what I do, like obviously, it's like tonight. For example, we're just doing a podcast, so I'd let everyone know.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That this is, we need an hour now where we're just going to record this, and then I'll edit it, and so they kind of know. But yeah, it's not always when if I'm doing like a full day and I've got like the family round, it is hard. I say the family round. My office is in my house. They're not
yeah.
round. They do live here as well. But um, yeah, yeah. I just sort of announce it. I mean, I don't do stuff like lock the door. I leave it lightly ajar. Let's little things like we've got the cat. Like I know
Yeah,
you understand that, and I don't
yeah,
like shutting the cat out, so I leave the door slightly ajar. You can see it behind me there. So
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
she'll wander in and jump on your lap, or they have a tendency to. She has a tendency to jump up right in front of the screen where I am
Hmm.
here and sort of demand attention. Do you know what I mean? If I'm not giving her enough attention, it will be
Yeah.
literally stop what you're doing now. Do you know what I mean? And focus on me for a little bit.
My cat comes and fetches me when she decides she wants some attention. She'll come in the office, and if the door's shut, she'll start scratching at the door. So you
Yeah,
have to leave the door open.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's the cat can also be quite distracting as well. So, like going back to the whole concept of the shutting yourself away in an office or an Airbnb in a hotel, I think an office is slightly better because the hotel, you have to be in. You can't probably book in till 12 and then you have to be out for 10 the next day or something like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah, yeah.
so it's often you have to have an overnight thing. But writers have been doing it for years, haven't they? Writers would go and sort of. I remember seeing Johnny Vegas, who was on one of them programs, A New Life in the Country or something. He was looking for a property for where he could isolate himself away from Manchester, where he was from at the time, from the city life and from people, and so
Yeah.
he could just basically sit at a desk on his own with a kitchen, and then basically he could just sit and write and work because he was writing Ideal at the time. I think he was some comedy
Mm,
he did and
mm.
other things. And so writers have been doing this for years, having I suppose you call it like a man cave, but with this idea, with this concept, it's for people who work from home, and that is obviously, like I say, you don't need to go and have an office all the time. It's just when it's that big push when you've got yourself, you've planned out a product or you've got an idea or an ebook and you really need to sit down and get it done
Mm.
and take yourself off out of the way for a day or two and just try and smash it out
Yeah,
or get 80-90% of the work done. It's
yeah.
just one of those cheaper alternatives. I mean, the alternative is, like I say, I did work out sort of. I don't know what the prices of hotels are because they change from town to city to sort of brand. But I mean, a
Mm.
Travelodge or whatever they are. So let's say it's £100 or an office. You rent an office for £100 a day.
Well,
But if
funny
you
you say that. While we've been doing that, I've just done a little search, and one in our area for the full day from 9 to 5, which accommodates two. So that would be, say, like you and your business partner, wherever wanted to go down. They're
Yeah.
100. They're 106 quid a day. You've got
Right.
bigger ones though. You can do 4 berth ones, same
Yeah.
price, 106 quid. So if there's a couple of you, or 3 or 4 of you wanted to go down, so yeah, let's say ballpark 100 quid. Do you know what I mean?
So if you spend 100 quid on an office for a day, and that day you're able to create, I mean, because we've talked about before, products don't actually need to be like 200 words long or 300 words long. Like
No.
we've seen products that are about 12 pages deep PDF.
Mm.
So let's say you spend £100 taking yourself into an office to get a product created. So let's say then that you've got that product created on that day. That means that the following day when you're at home, you can actually upload it to your website and then start the marketing process.
Yeah.
Which means you could actually probably start generating sales.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you were to work from home and you were getting distracted a lot, let's say it takes you 2 weeks to get that product finished, then you've probably lost more in money than what it cost you to actually rent the office for the day.
Yeah. And that, exactly that. I mean, and I also think like they're great for other things. Like take us for example. Like we work, we're a business, we're a limited company, we're a partnership, but even when you were in the UK, we were living, miles apart. You know what I mean? So in that case, it could have been an option. Like, we did a couple of times, we met up and stuff, but it could be like a central location where you could both go for like a 2 day. You know what I mean? Let's say you wanted to do a real brainstorming session. You really want to get cracking. You really wanted to get something done. You know what I mean? That's ideal for that. You know what I mean? You could do like a meet up in the middle sort of thing, hire an office out, get whatever you need to get done. I mean, we've talked about websites loads of times on this. 100 quid, I could build and sell, and not just me, but anyone. Once you got the skill sets, you can build and sell a sort of 500-600 quid website probably in a day.
Yeah.
And that is a realistic thing. Providing you've got a bit of the content, providing you kind of know from the client how they want it to look, and that you could do that in a day. So yeah, your 100 quid is fine. You know what I mean? You'd still be clearing a nice profit, and that would be a nice, if you really wanted a focused day away from all the distractions, then yeah, that's not a bad sort of way of looking at it. Like you say, the way you penned that together then actually makes sense, because all the sort of dithering and doing a little bit here and there and not getting stuff done, and before you know it, 2 or 3 weeks has passed. Do you know what I mean? You might have kind of
yeah.
You could have probably sold enough of those products to make that back in that time.
If you can't afford, or if you're not in a position to do that, then you've got no other option just to be extremely disciplined and work out what you're working at in chunks. If you can only do an half hour here, an hour there, then that's fine. And it depends, because like we spoke about on a previous podcast, you can't compare people because everybody else is different with different circumstances. But if you can hire an office or an Airbnb for the weekend, or you could do something along that lines, which is going to help accelerate your product creation or your business further, then it's something that you should probably consider, because like I said, there's all these different ways of looking at money. I always remember when I was working as a joiner, people were saying you need to keep your bread and butter jobs, because the bread and butter jobs are the ones that keep you sort of ticking over. And yes, there is a place for them. But at the same time, sometimes when you focus on the bread and butter jobs, you're not pushing yourself above the parapet, and you're not actually getting the bigger jobs. So you could actually end up keeping yourself stuck because you're doing all these little bread and butter jobs. And there's all these people saying like, oh, you need to save your money here, or you need to say you want to make sure you cut back on all these expenses because. But then we full know that was it Dan Kennedy said that the person with the most money who spends on advertising is going to win. So it's the people who will spend the extra money sometimes often goes the extra mile. So actually not hiring the office, not hiring the hotel for the night or the Airbnb, so that you to save money, so you're going to do your product, could actually be more detrimental to you than actually spending the money in the first place to get it done faster. It's just, there's so many people are so sort of careful or scared, or they're afraid to spend the money on this and the other, not realizing that it's actually probably the best way forward, because you get things done quicker and you get things to market quicker, and then you actually then can make more money or make money faster, sooner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think of a couple of examples of stuff that we've done over the years, products that we've sold that have brought in, like sort of 5 figures and that. Do you know what I mean? And you often think back, there were times when we were both doing it, kind of like, it was like evenings. Do you know what I mean? We were just cracking it out, doing like hour here and there and getting stuff done, then trying to do multiple other things around it. Chances are we'd have just sort of said, you know what, let's hire this office for the weekend, pay the 200 quid. We'd have got the whole thing done in probably 24 hours, done, completed. Do you know what I mean?
Could you imagine? Yeah, when I was back in the UK, can you imagine if we'd done that? If we sort of,
Yeah,
either I came down to you or you up to me, or we met somewhere in the middle in Birmingham or something.
yeah,
If we'd just said, right, for 2 days we're going to do that, because as you know, we always outline what we're going to do first.
yeah.
And we give ourselves a series of tasks, but we do those tasks, as you say, in the evenings or weekends, or when we can fit it in. But if we just gone there and just smashed it out, we, like you said, we made 5 figures from these products. We could have made more 5 figures from those products sooner had we just got them blasted
Just get them
out
done.
in a day.
Yeah, do it in 2 days, job done. I mean, we've often sort of talked about that because we've got a couple of other products in the pipeline, and it is an interesting way of looking at it, because once you start earning money, and once you start, we don't want to get too technical, but once you start earning money, you can use things like this as a business expense. Do you know what I mean? You could literally
absolutely.
hire an office for 2 days. You use that as a tax deductible. That's like a necessary spend, a business spend. So therefore, you use that, and then you really, really get the best out of it by just literally cramming in as much as you can in those 2 days. And I challenge anyone, you could get a hell of a lot done. You could get a website completed, which you could sell. You could pretty much do a product. Pretty much. You could get a product done easily, actually, if you really focused on it in them 2 days. You could probably record 10 podcasts like we're doing now. You could probably record 10, I don't know, tutorials, like over the shoulder tutorials, which in itself could be a course. That course could be like £1,000 course. That could be $1,000 course that you could sell, that you could make and create in 1 day. And that isn't the people. Some people are listening to this going, "You're talking out. You're a complete maniac." I know that some people will be saying that, but that isn't the case. That is 100% true, and we've seen it in actual fact, and it can be done, can't it?
I mean, you think about copywriting, like the sales letters that I've written, and what other people write. If you think you spend a day writing out a sales letter, those sales letters then are going to be online for years. They're assets, they're little salesmen selling products, which for lots of people, for certain copywriters, they've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars from those sales letters.
Yeah.
So you imagine you just go and basically disappear into your office for the day and focus on creating this new sales letter. It's paid itself multiple times. And going back to what you just said then about creating all these videos, for like this now, we can knock out, as you say, a handful of podcasts a day. The editing can be done at home because it doesn't matter. But when it's the recording is the issue. So you could knock out a load of those. But yesterday I had a chat with a chap like this, talking face to face, and he was showing me his product, which he charges over $3,000 for. And part of the product, it's a mentoring product, but part of the product is you get access to his members area, so a website which has, I can't remember how many videos he said, probably like 20, 30 videos. So that's part of, as you were saying, you're on about like £1,000 product, $1,000 product. So this is a $3,000 product. Yes, you get mentoring with him, but he has this vault where basically he's recorded videos like this. It's either screen flow or just sat looking at the camera talking to it. So you imagine taking yourself away with a list saying, right, I've got these 10 videos I want to get done, or if you can push 20. It depends on how many days you sort of rent in the
Wherever you
office
need
for.
to go, yeah.
But if you have this list, right, I'm going to talk about social media, I'm going to talk about Facebook, I'm going to talk about Twitter. You've got this list of videos. You just turn up there, make yourself a brew, open up your laptop, and start.
Mm.
And then, like you say, by the end of a couple of days, you've got yourself a product that is probably worth $1,000, $2,000, or 90-80% of that product, or you just needs just a few finishing touches. But you've bashed it all out. Whereas if you try and do that at home, where, as I say, through no fault of their own, you've got family who also live in there, and if you've got children, by nature they're just noisy, whether they're even in the room next to you. You know what I mean? It's just, you've got people which, and as soon as your concentration is being distracted from external distractions or disruptions, it sometimes, I did read a study where it says like it can take up to 5 to 10 minutes to get your train of thought back into where it was before it was pulled out of it. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean,
yeah.
It's so you're sat there, you're in the middle of recording a video, and then suddenly somebody walks in and go, "Oh, sorry, really, I just want to see what you're having for your dinner," and it's like,
yeah, I can 100% relate to that. I mean, that in actual fact, what you just said then, that sounds kind of recently. I mean, I'm doing a bit of work for a client at the moment, and it's kind of website based, but it's a bit of more an ongoing thing. She's basically got like a booking system, and I have to update that booking system every month, every 2 months. For a service that she offers, and I was in there today and I was updating it, and it's kind of like monotonous work. It's not difficult, but you've got to really concentrate because it's dates.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that all these dates are exactly right. And I've done that before. I've been doing it, and then the kids or whatever have come past, and it was like the other day, someone or the phone went off or something happened. There was a knock at the door, and when I come back to do it again, I'd done the next one and I'd sort of duplicated the first one and I'd not put the new one in. And it like you say, it's just that little lapse in concentration. Whereas had I didn't have that distraction, that wouldn't have happened, because I'd have just, you know what I mean? I'd have been in a flow. There'd have been nothing going on. I'd have just got that done. So it's definitely food for thought. It's kind of opened my eyes to actually consider it for some of the stuff that we're doing, actually.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm over in Portugal at the moment, and there has been discussion whether on the next adventure, we pop back to the UK or Ireland or something like that. And if I am back that way, I am actually considering myself that you and I should actually probably do this. We should probably
we will do, definitely. Yeah,
somewhere. And I was going to say we'll meet up in a pub, but that's time.
We'll be distracted. Yeah.
Can't work in a pub really. But we'll definitely have to meet up and do something, because I mean, you and I, we've been very fortunate. We have got products created and we've been disciplined. And this should be another podcast for another day. Accountability buddies, or teaming up with someone who's got a sort of a what's the word? I can't think of the word now. Complementing skill set. Yeah. So like when a bricklayer works with a joiner, me and you, we work together. We've got the same mindset, and we're able to have lists and work to these lists. And we have got products done, and we've managed to get products done within a month. And that's including, obviously building the website, the sales letters and everything. But you imagine how much we could get done if we actually did a weekend together.
Yeah. Away from everything else. Yeah, that's definitely food for thought. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap that up then. That was pretty much on the half an hour mark, as we like to try and keep these now. But so I mean, thanks very much for listening. And any more closing thoughts?
Basically, the reason for these podcasts is just to try and help you think of things differently from a different angle and to consider different things. And I hope that what we've talked about today has actually done that. It's helped you think of things from a different perspective.
As always, reach out. We've got all the options, channels, social media, and everything like that. We're always available, and we do like the input, and we do take all that on board. So until the next one, thanks very much for listening.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Freedom Hustles podcast. We hope you found inspiration and insights to help fuel your journey towards freedom. Don't forget to join our free newsletter at freedomskillsacademy.com/newsletter, where you can find exclusive tips, updates, and resources to help elevate your hustle. Until next time, keep hustling towards your dreams.